Hey, folks. Glad everybody's here this afternoon. Whenever you're watching this, love to be able to come to you here today. I am Shawn Carter in Southwestern Virginia, and I'm hopefully going to talk to you in the next few weeks and months, do a series of teachings, helping people to go through their deconstruction and helping people who maybe have a loved one going through deconstruction or church hurt. And we're going to talk about a lot of that today. And if you found this channel, if you found this video, I'm sure that it's not by chance, and not just saying that flippantly. I hope that um, this these few videos that we do and I do will help many different people go through the process and go through the growth that they need to grow in. And maybe a pastor's let you down, maybe a community of believers or a people claiming to be family have ghosted you or hurt you in some way. And maybe you had questions about God or about life or something that was going on in your life, and you went to your pastor and you just got these flippant answers like just have faith, or we just preach the gospel, or maybe they just hurt you. Maybe you've seen the hypocrisy within inside the church and within inside of Christianity itself. And you're not alone. Millions of people right now are going through a season of deconstruction, going through a season of, and I think it's always kind of been there. We just put a name to it, of deconstruction. And people have always going through these kinds of things, no matter the belief system, or it's not just Christianity. I've had an opportunity to sit down with many different belief systems, whether it's Buddhist. I spent time with some Buddhist monks and stuff like that, and they were having the same issues. They were seeing the same things. And one of the reasons I wanted to do this video and then do the video series is to kind of help people see that spiritual growth and growth can be a beautiful thing, but it also can hurt. It also can disillusion people about belief systems and about God. And so we're going to go through that here. And you're not alone if you're experiencing these things. You're not alone, and many people going through this. And so today in this introduction video, I kind of just want to spend some time just talking to you from my point of view. I'm not someone who's polished with all the answers. I love talking and having conversations with people about belief systems and religion. I am a Christian. I'm a Christian pastor, but I'm not going to try to protect the church. I'm not going to try to protect God. God's big enough. He's going to protect himself. And I really do believe that we need to have some honest talk in Christianity. I live in an area where there's a lot of fundamentalist churches, where there's a lot of people who come out and of those churches hurt. And for the most part, I've seen a lot of church hurt myself, to be honest with you. I got a chance to see my dad go from an alcoholic to a Sunday school teacher. And during that process, being a teenager, I wasn't a Christian myself. So I didn't, my early childhood wasn't inside of Christianity. But I got to see my dad go through the process, and he had a pastor one time that brought a lot of hurt into our family. One pastor said that once a drunk, always a drunk. And that's not true. There's some things that we can talk about with that, but this pastor was working off of no insight to addiction whatsoever. And so that kind of, I've seen how that kind of hurt people. I got to see how my dad was treated with inside the church, from a teenager point of view. If you really want to ask someone, you find the hypocrisy in something, go to a teenager, right? The teenagers, they're in that growth period in their life to where they're going to be able to point out all the hypocrisy, no matter where it's at. Uh, I know with my children, they were able to point out the hypocrisy in movies and ice creams and stuff like that. And speaking of my children, one of the things I wanted to do in ministry, because I've been in ministry most of their life, was not shield them and talk to them honestly about the church politics, the church stuff that goes on. And they've grew up watching the same things I kind of grew up watching, how the church treats people. You have a lot of people inside the church that are mean. Now, as I'm talking, and I know some church people are probably going to be watching this, I want to say something to you. Please don't take what I'm doing as an attack against the church, but I think if we're really going to grow, if we're really going to reach people for Christ, at times we really do need to self evaluate as churches and look at what we're doing. We can't, in the name of the gospel, hurt people. And so we really need to take a look at this. And I know one of the first things people are going to say is, well, he's going liberal or he's going this and that. You come talk to me. If that's the case, I'll have you on the program myself, and we'll talk about it. But look, my whole point is to help people. My story, I've been hurt even inside of ministry. I've been hurt by fellow pastors. I've been looked down upon fellow pastors. I've been hurt many different ways by congregation members. I've had pastors stand up in the middle of associational meetings and put me down and stuff like that. So I know what church hurt looks like. But also coming and talking about deconstruction, I haven't went through a lot of what a lot of people go through, but I have really looked at different belief systems through my life. I grew up around a lot of Eastern philosophy through the martial arts. I took martial arts. I've been in martial arts now for almost 39, 40 years. Like I said, I've talked to Buddhists. I've had outreaches in a lot of ministry contact with Satanists and Wiccans and just all over the place, talking to different belief systems. And as I'm talking with them, I'm evaluating not them or, I'm not really trying to judge them at all. And I'm just trying to figure out what they believe. And so there's been a process to where I've really challenged Christianity myself. I've really looked at those subjects. Why did, some of the subjects that we're going to look at in the future from this series, some of the things that we're going to look at is why did God have, if perfect God, why did he make sin? Why does suffering happen? That's one of the biggest things that we're going to look at. It's a lot of the biggest hurt and things that happens. I'm going to have some guests on throughout this series. I've got one planned next week that will be sitting down and talking with me about his hurt and what's going on in his life. And I'm going to do this in kind of different, hopefully 15-minute segments. Most of the time will be 15 minutes. There'll be some longer 30 minutes to an hour shows, especially when we're dealing with the topic of suffering and evil. Where was God when I was being hurt? Those are some big topics. Why do church people hurt you so bad? Some of the other topics we're going to look at, but we're really not going to just be church bashing. We're not going to be, that's one of the things I see that happens with a lot of deconstruction is, and rightfully so in some cases, especially if they've been hurt, they're going to lash out through anger. But there's something I posted the other day. I think is important that we all kind of, I wanted to bring up during this video here, and I put this on my personal Facebook page, and I want people to be able to spiritually grow. I want people, even if they've been hurt, to walk away, from the blaming of the church in and that has its place, and we're going to talk about that. But if it's all we're going to do is blame someone, blame a church, blame God, or blame something, if that's where we're going to stay, then we're really not going to grow. We're really not going to go past this. And I really want people to grow spiritually. I want them to go past the anger stage, the grief stage, and really begin to look and reconstruct their life, reconstruct their spiritual life. And so that's what I really want to do. I wrote this other day, and this is some of the concepts that we're going to get into in later shows. And I put this, I said, you cannot see some things until you grow past the current position. Sometimes we have to get out of that current position that we're in to see more and learn more about the situation. And sometimes that means there's going to be more blame. There's going to be more, we're going to see more atrocity. We're going to see more hypocrisy. But at the same time, it's not just seeing that blame or hypocrisy. It's going to be seeing how I can grow, how I don't have to be shackled by that hurt and bitterness anymore. I don't have to be corralled just because of a few people or for even a whole religion, so to speak. I don't have to be corralled with that. I don't have to be shackled to that. And so when I wrote this, I wasn't thinking about trying to, and that's one thing I want to say here. This is not trying to set the wayward children right. This is not trying to make you come back to Christianity. I want to be able to sit down with you and have a conversation about who you are spiritually and where you're going, how to grow spiritually, how to flourish in life and get more out of life and get more. And I hope, and I'll be honest, I hope you will come to Christ. I hope you will see that he does care and that he's right there for you. Overall, I want you to know that there is a rebuilding process. And I'm going to be talking about spiritual growth, life growth. You know, there's life growth out there. I've seen some people, and I think this is part of the problem in the church, to be honest with you. I see a lot of people who are not growing in their life. They may be 50 and 60 years old, but still acting like a teenager, acting like a 8 or 9-year-old. And even if they're religiously astute, they may even have a doctorate beside their name, but they really haven't grown spiritually or in their life past being a teenager. And they're just in this propositional stage of life to where it's all about gray, black and white, and gray and black, and these things like that. And they don't understand relationship. They don't understand growth. And we're going to talk about the 4 types of growing. We're going to talk about what it means to let go of, not of your beliefs, but let go of the fundamentalism that is shaping your belief system, whether you know it or not. And I think that's really where I really want to spend some time and looking at. So I'm getting close now to the end, near the end of, I'm going to look at my notes right here. Church, let me define deconstruction a little bit. Deconstruction simply means examining your beliefs, taking them apart. Some people believe it's leaving a religion, and that could be for some people. Oftentimes when I sit down with people who are in this, what we call deconstruction stage, where they're wanting to leave Christianity, maybe they don't understand concepts of the Bible, they don't understand certain aspects, and they're just trying to figure it out. And they're kind of in this, what I call the no man's land. No one will sit down and talk with them about, they're always, it seems like someone's always wanting to try to defend the Bible, defend God. And they're not really wanting to sit down and have a conversation. And I want to have those conversations with you. And if you have a comment, let it, put it in the comments down below. And whenever you watch this, I'll try to keep up with the comments as long as I can. But deconstruction is simply moving away from the belief system that you deconstructing that. But part of the problem, as I see in helping people through this process, is they don't necessarily want to rebuild in some way. And there's stages. There's going to be a time to rebuild. There is a time to, just like in Ecclesiastes, just like in other scripture, there's a time to really sit down and examine. Paul himself says examine. Um, not trying to quote Bible, but I think that we've lost that ability to self-examine. And I think that's really what deconstruction often ends up being is we're looking at something that we don't necessarily agree with. We don't know why, but we really don't have anybody to sit down and talk to about it. And so we just go through the process of rejecting everything. And so there's some good reasons why we want to deconstruct. There's some good reasons why we want to get rid of some stuff. I think there's some definitely stuff in church culture. And notice what I just said, church culture and church activities that we need to get rid of. We really need to deal with even as a church itself. We're trying to, as a church where I'm at right now, to deal with a lot of those kinds of issues. And we've been dealing with it for many years. But we see, these beliefs are, taking apart these beliefs and seeing how it works, and we're going to talk about what is truth. We're going to talk about that. I think it's important when people say, I want to find out what's true. Well, what does that mean to you? What does that mean, truth? What does truth mean? So we're going to have those conversations. Some people are really just not really wanting to find truth. They just want to get away from the control of the people in the church that they were in. And we're going to talk about the cult-like behavior that some people, I know there's a lady that came out of Cana, Virginia that made a couple of videos that it kind of went viral on the internet talking about some of the churches and stuff she's been with. And that's what I'm going to be talking about is the fundamentalist type churches found around here as well. But also, we want to talk about church hurt. It's an emotional, spiritual, sometimes physical damage caused by people or the systems inside the church that can look like spiritual manipulation or control, hypocrisy, abuse of power, shunning, gossip, won't answer hard questions, covers up the sins of leadership. Leadership is always right. Got to wear certain clothes. Got to, I look around at some of the different religions around us that, they can't drive cars, but they can own vehicles and businesses with technology and use the technology in their homes. And I just feel like it's a lot of hypocrisy, right? And so we're going to take a look at that, both of just, legalism crushes people instead of gospel setting them free. We're going to look at the King James only kind of things and what does that mean and how we really need to view the Bible and stuff like that. And how do we ask hard questions? Where do we go find the answers to those hard questions when you got leadership that's not willing to even study their own Bible and know how it works? So we're going to talk about all these kinds of issues. I kind of even went a little bit longer than I normally do, but I want to give not just a Christian response to some of these, but I want to give some honest response. I don't claim to be perfect in this area. I'm not an expert, but I promise you I will try my best to give you as much knowledge as I possibly can and to answer questions to best my ability. Again, I'm not here to persuade you to be coming back to Christianity, but I do want you to promise me that you'll look at why you're deconstructing, not listening to all the voices of society, not listening to all the voices that's out there, because a lot of those voices that are out there are trying to persuade you to go to another type of fundamentalism. And that's something I want you to know we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about what society is pulling and how society is pulling you into under other fundamentalist views. And so I hope this has helped. If it's helped, let me know. If you got a topic that you would like for me to hit in the next few weeks, as far as going through this uh, on this channel, you can look for these videos on Facebook on my personal page, Shawn Carter. You can look at Medizadam Baptist Church Facebook page. You can also look at Medizadam Baptist Church YouTube page. And I'm going to tell you, YouTube is probably the best place to go for the archives. We just starting this series. Facebook deletes all these kinds of things 30 days out after this video. So if you're ever going to look for these videos again, please look in the Medizadam Baptist Church YouTube page. Hey, I'm not trying to get to grow the page or anything. Just go subscribe if this is going to be something that you're going to be interested in. So with that, I want to thank you, and we'll see you next week. Next week, I will have one of the very first introductory things. We're going to talk about these subjects and more. And then after that, I think the week after next, I'll probably have my first interview. We're going to try to record it next week and then put it out the following week. Y'all have a great day now, okay? Have a great day.